Okay, so let's dive in. Welcome to everybody that's here and everyone that's watching after the fact. We're really appreciative of your time. As I mentioned, I'm Michelle Brisbois and I work on the marketing with SMRT1 Technologies. And I'm going to be moderating today. As I joked earlier, my job will be pretty easy. These two gentlemen are very engaging and smart, and I will just have to ask the questions. They will give you lots of wonderful information. So the goal today is to hear more about SMRT1 Technologies and about some of the activities going on with this company, and about UpMeals and what's going on with this company, and how the two companies have come together in this wonderful alliance to revolutionize the restaurant industry. We've got some stats we'll share farther in the webinar, but the restaurant industry typically is the canary in the coal mine when we run into hard times economically, and this time is no exception. It's not only an economic hardship, but we've also got the healthcare crisis. And if you have a business built on people getting together in large groups, you run into a situation like this where that's not possible. It's pretty daunting. So between SMRT1 Technologies and UpMeals, they've come up with some incredible solutions that are really going to revolutionize the restaurant industry. So I'll introduce these two gentlemen. This gentleman here sitting in the woods, the lovely woods of BC. Thank you to Zoom backdrops. This is Mr. Brad Pommen, and he is the president and founder of SMRT1 Technologies, which is a tech startup based in Nelson, BC. And the gentleman, it's to my right. So well, you can see he's got his UpMeals logo there. This is Mr. Drew Munro, and he is co-founder of UpMeals based in Vancouver, correct?
Correct.
Vancouver, BC. So without further ado, we'll go through, we just have a short list of questions here. We're going to go through those questions, and we'll leave a few minutes at the end in case any of you have questions. So Brad, I thought we'd start with you. What was the moment that inspired you to start SMRT1 Technologies? Obviously, every great company kind of comes from a place where the founder see there's an unmet need in the market. And what was that moment for you?
You know, I've been a programmer for about 25 years, and I've helped a lot of students learn how to adopt science and technology projects through tech clubs and stuff. So as my membership was growing, I needed a way to be able to get the products in their hands, as well as to inform them what that product was and provide resources. And after we started to build our own touchscreen vending machine to meet that purpose, we realized that there wasn't a product like ours on the market that could do what we wanted it to do. So really, we took that necessity out of our own need and applied that. And every time we kind of looked at it from an outside perspective, we just saw more and more opportunity.
Yeah, that's, I know as you and I have talked, we've talked about the fact you couldn't keep up with the getting the project parts to the students. So it was really about needing to operate 24/7 when there was a need from your customers and you couldn't be there. So, I think that's pretty cool. And Drew, in terms of UpMeals, you're a chef by training, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
So what's your story in terms of that moment where you saw UpMeals as a concept?
Well, we had been running an event catering business for almost 12 years, and we began to see a growing need for a food solution that didn't necessarily fit under the traditional umbrella of a catering solution or even a meal delivery solution. We noticed that primarily workplace dynamics were changing. People weren't working 9 to 5 as much anymore. Flex time was becoming more popular. Tastes were changing, trends were emerging. So it was becoming increasingly difficult to service large groups using one menu at one time. So we began to explore how to use technology, both hardware and software, to meet that need and provide that value and flexibility for our clients, both immediately and into the future. And that's when we started to see UpMeals emerge as a potential concept and a business on its own.
Yes, this melding of food service and technology is a really cool trend, and certainly the pandemic has served to be an accelerator for a lot of these things that you obviously saw early on. So that's pretty cool. And then to both of you, I'm curious as to, maybe we could start with you, Drew. So how does a guy who's running a smart vending software company connect with a guy who's running a food service company? How did you meet?
Right. Well, about 1.5 years ago, we began looking right away at the potential of using some sort of a high-tech vending machine to provide the delivery method for the clients. We realized this would give us the accessibility and the convenience that we wanted. So, before we met Brad and his team at SMRT1, we looked to the first place that you look for high-tech vending machines, which is Asia. So, I flew to Japan twice during that 1.5 years. I did research. I did all sorts of research and development on what they were using, only to find that most of those machines couldn't be used in Canada and couldn't be used in North America and had certain red tape that was involved in them. So we actually had booked plane tickets to China and Singapore last year to go and visit factories that we were dealing with to try to figure out a way to make this work. And by chance, UpMeals was just starting, and we agreed to be an exhibitor at Vancouver Startup Week. And we got wind of this company in Nelson, BC that was
right in your own backyard,
producing these high-tech vending machines. And so we eventually got a link up to Brad. Brad and I connected for a call and hit it off, and realized what they were building was very much in line with what we needed. So that was how the initial connection happened, to connect us both as BC boys.
Cool. And so from your perspective, Brad, when you first met Drew, what were your thoughts around how the SMRT1, and I should mention here, we refer to the technology as SMRT1 POD, POD, which stands for Personalized on Demand, correct, Brad? So you maybe want to tell us a bit on how you felt your solution could fit with UpMeals?
Yeah, it was during my travels back and forth between Nelson and Vancouver, which is a 7-hour gap. And, we hopped on a phone call somewhere in the middle there, about 3.5 hours in, and Drew laid out a plan about how he wanted to be able to deliver to customers. And everything on his wish list was all the things that I already had in development or had on our roadmap. And so it really gave me an opportunity to kind of deep dive into this specific retail need to be able to address food service. And one of the pieces that Drew mentioned was one of the difficulties of trying to adopt the vending platforms that aren't North American centric or adopted already. And so that was a big push 3.5 years ago when we started the company, is that we were trying to aid an existing business model where most North American companies only buy North American vending machines. And by building an upgrade to that, we weren't asking the vending machine companies to change their design. In fact, we were asking the reverse. We were telling them your 30-year workhorse should stay the same. It's delivering products beautifully. You've perfected that. But what it's lacking is now this engaging experience, and it's a layer that's separate from the hardware itself. It shouldn't be tied. And that's where we felt we could be a differentiator here, so we could meet all of Drew's needs, as well as provide a easily upgradable as well as growable or expandable model. So as he gets more traction and we move across Canada, now we're able to expand quickly through the existing vending machine network because they're familiar with our machines.
And this uncoupling of the layers is really what headless commerce is all about, isn't it?
It is. If you look at how Shopify and Amazon and Walmart are all behaving these days, is they are trying to find ways to stay connected to the customer and provide them, a lot less friction into a transaction. same day or next day shipping is great, but when you have an instant product need, there's not a lot of opportunities on the market today that suit that need.
Yeah, yeah. So Drew, I want to talk a bit, because we are here to talk today about the restaurant industry and food service and technology. So I have some stats here that I pulled off of Restaurants Canada that are pretty staggering in terms of how the pandemic has hit the restaurant industry. So full service restaurant sales have tumbled 68.9% in May. It was a bit of an improvement over the 79.6 decline in April. Caterer revenues fell 74.3% in May, which was unchanged from April. Quick service restaurants only fell 24.6, did you ever imagine we'd see a day where we'd say, yay, it was only 24.6 decline, largely because it's off-premise consumption, right? So, we can take the food away. But given that quick service restaurants allow the consumer to take the food home, and certainly when we see trends like cloud kitchens and ghost kitchens and Uber Eats, all the data I'm seeing suggests that the next fight for share of stomach is going to be on the consumer's kitchen table. What do you see as the future of food service and restaurants?
I believe that all operators and restaurants need to start considering these options to get food and quality food into their customers' homes and reaching them at different points in their journey, if you will. It will be a long road to recovery. The numbers you shared are very sobering, and I believe that the operators that will recover the quickest in this new normal or post-COVID environment will be the ones that consider these not just as survival strategies, but also as long-term strategies to diversify their income, their revenue streams. That will really be the key model coming out of this, which is who is diversifying their business enough to have those different revenue streams coming in from different areas, whether part of that is, you see a lot of restaurants have developed sort of like a marketplace where people can buy ingredients or prepped sauces to take home. They're doing takeaway, they're doing meal delivery. Some of them are doing ghost kitchen models. So all of those things support a successful strategy and the repositioning of their brand. So the ones that do the best at that and find new ways to generate revenue will recover the quickest. And I firmly believe that they should look at it, as I said, not just as a way to survive, but as a way to adapt and embrace the new normal, I suppose I should say.
Well, and given, I did read another stat where, restaurant margins, I think it's 74% of restaurants have a gross margin of less than 10%. So, that doesn't leave a lot of fat on the meat when hard times hit. And technology certainly is one way to drive efficiency without, the go-to strategy for a lot of restaurants seems to be cut labor. Right. But those are the people serving your customers and making your food. And so it becomes sometimes a tricky balancing act.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, technology, certainly is the wave of the future. And I'm curious, Brad, and I think a lot of our listeners might be, when we think of food and vending, it's typically chips and pop. And, I did read a study years ago where someone buried a maraschino cherry for 5 years and dug it up and it hadn't changed. So, a lot of these foods that typically were in vending machines because there were so many preservatives that they couldn't go bad. When you look at a concept like UpMeals which is based on healthy, fresh, all the things that are on trend and so important now in a healthcare crisis, how can I be comfortable that a vending machine can deliver it safely and it tastes good?
In the last 50 years, the vending has been dominated by the snack industry. Snack and soda, that's what you came to expect. Anything else was a novelty of a machine. It was there for a marketing campaign, but it wasn't growing into other products. And so, now being able to put out a lot more machines because of this standard interface, it does highlight a lot of the features that we had a hard time selling prior to the pandemic, or COVID itself, are now, as a standard feature that we've always had. It's just now it's something that people are paying attention to. So we can do things like coat screens in antimicrobial films. We can have it so that there is set schedules and text reminders and activity reminders telling operators when they should clean their machine. We make it so that most of the experience now can be touchless. So whether that's electronic payments or that's using an app on your phone to buy and control the experience, now, other than the actual operation of opening the chute door or a locker, that is your only touch point. And if that means we're offering, sanitized gel that they can wash their hands before and after, or we want to be able to add on temperature sensing. So again, as the need increases, to be able to have thermal imaging to be able to tell you if your employees are sick or not, could be just a standard feature of these machines. And I think that really expands the benefit of the whole market, is we're trying to think about health and wellness, both for the operator and the customer uniquely, where before that cross-contamination was not even on anybody's radar as a concern.
And the machines themselves can be refrigerated, right?
That's
and
right.
Keep the
So,
food at the perfect temperature, and
get alerts. And again, that's all built into the standard hardware. Is the ability to control and understand what's happening on that machine is fantastic. They've built a great model, but it doesn't connect to any of the other services that someone like Drew would want to have up to the minute monitoring in the same dashboard that's telling him his sales history, or what is his most productive machine, or that one machine is being reported as dirty and a customer could give him feedback through an app. There's a lot of opportunity now to be able to think about how the operator data and the personalized experience is going to be affected by now a lot of these things that aren't going to go away for several years.
Yeah. And so, Drew, I see you nodding there. So, obviously a lot of this data that's going to come to you as the operator is going to be helpful in terms of.
It's incredibly helpful, not only for the back end, but also for the client to have more data than they would be previously getting from a standard standalone retail solution, and certainly more from a standard, reach-in fridge. So for us to be able to, as Brad mentioned, track things like to the second freshness levels to make sure that everything is set to the optimal window of consumption, and that if it surpasses that, the product would not be vended. So the risk of a consumer getting a product that, as you said, isn't fresh or isn't to our standards of where it should be is minimized. The other safety points that Brad touched on is, from having the items sealed individually into an enclosed unit. If you're walking into a grocery store or a retail chain picking up a salad bowl, you don't know how many people have picked up that salad bowl to examine it before purchasing it. Yeah. So there's an extra level of security and safety that are going to be huge consumer asks in the post-COVID environment that will be on the radar for the foreseeable future, if not forever, that this technology solves. You're giving us as the operator confidence, but you're also giving that partner brand who has that machine on their property a ton of confidence in the products they're selling to their consumers.
Yeah, perfect points, both of you. I think it said that it takes 60 days to ingrain a new habit. And this pandemic has been going on and will go on much longer than that. Add to that, there is trauma that's happening to the world. And so there is, those things coupled tend to create long-lasting change. So, certainly a heightened attention to health would be exactly in line with offering healthy meals and making that the cornerstone of your brand. So, in terms of, again, I wanted to ask both of you, and you can, Brad, maybe we can start with you. Tell us a bit about the rollout of the UpMeals program delivered via the SMRT1 POD. Actually, let's start with Drew. It makes more sense for him to answer that, I think. My mistake. How will you see it rolling out? Where's the first machine going to be, and what's kind of the plan after that?
Sure. So, I mean, we're targeting some great markets with this solution that we feel it would add tremendous value to. And I think the biggest emerging market as a result of COVID-19 has been positioning this wellness solution as part of a safe return to work strategy for large companies and organizations. Companies that have 200, 500, 1,000 employees that previously serviced those needs via catering or a shared cafeteria are suddenly realizing this won't work anymore. So we are thrilled to be working on customized branded food solutions that encompass their entirety of needs for large companies, and then using the SMRT1 pods as the delivery method to make it 24/7 accessible, safe, and to give access to the data. So we are thrilled next month to be performing an installation at TELUS Garden in downtown Vancouver.
Wow.
TELUS, as many know, is they position themselves as the leading health and wellness tech company in Canada. So there's a really perfect synergy there between what we're doing, what Brad and SMRT1 are doing, and of course what they're trying to achieve. So we're performing that installation, and we're going to be continuing to target industries that we feel this would provide tremendous value and safety for their customers in the coming months.
Yeah, and that's a great point around employers and the employment brand and employee engagement. It may surprise people to hear that when it comes to health and health benefits, it's actually many of the younger workers that are most engaged in having that be part of the employment contract. And it's a big piece of what makes one employer of choice. This is research from Gartner that I was looking at a month or two ago. Kudos to you for having the foresight to have this all in place, because it is a solution that's obviously really, really needed right now. We'll move on to we'll flip this over to Brad and ask Drew the same question. So what would your advice to businesses be as you plan for the balance of the year and into next? We did a blog post on the SMRT1 blog called The Next Normal. To heck with the new normal. The new normal implies there will be a normal that will stay normal for a while, and it's day to day. So Brad, if you're looking at businesses and where the SMRT1 pod fits in for the next 6 months, the next year, next 2 years, what would your advice be to businesses when they're looking at their business models?
Retail is never going to be the same after post pandemic here, and whatever the results are is going to be a modification of the consumer experience and the retail journey. No longer are you going to get 200 people through the door into your building. You're probably going to be somewhere between 40 and 60, and that might even be too tight for a lot of the regulations that are still going to stick around. So we're going to see flare-ups and stuff like that at times in communities. And so we really feel that the SMRT1 pod is kind of that remote and alternative solution, where if someone's coming into your business and maybe they only need one thing and it's a common thing, maybe that's accessible in a new location, whether that's outside of the business or placed strategically where the customers are. But it's going to be a positioning of being able to adopt the new technologies. So those companies without a website and without e-commerce are going to continue to suffer, where when they are adopting that technology or have adopted it, it makes it an easy transition to be able to now add the self-checkout and automated retail as an additive layer. It's not meant to replace online shopping. It's not meant to replace coming into the store to fill your buggy. It is there for convenience and a healthy way to be able to ensure that you're meeting the needs of each customer. And this is a customization opportunity, is if you can now build loyalty and a confidence in a self-checkout, your customer is going to seek you out. You're not going to have to advertise to them. And I think placing those machines in those strategic locations for anybody that is wanting to expand their retail model is now a huge, at a huge point in history where it's the cheapest it's ever been, it's the most technological it's ever been, as well as it's understood as why this is a necessity. And that's, from a sales point on SMRT1, this has highlighted all of our best features, but it really makes us strive for a lot more. If this is the baseline, it's a great baseline.
And Drew, what would your advice be to business owners looking at where technology might fit into their business model?
Sure. I mean, I'll speak first to the food industry, where I've spent, the majority of my career. And I guess my advice, quite simply, is to rethink everything. And that, realizing that when you're in an industry where your core revenue stream, which for most is in-house dining and in-house drinking, that might not become your core revenue stream in the next 6 to 12 to 18 months. And that's a scary thing for a lot of operators to think about.
Right.
So my advice would be to embrace, as Brad mentioned, all facets of technology, whether that's digital commerce, using websites, finding new ways to distribute different types of products to expand the reach of your brand. And the lowest hanging fruit, which a lot of operators will go to, are things like meal delivery apps. Whereas that can provide a quick boost, it may not be a sustainable solution with the fees that they take and the way that those are somewhat on demand and resource heavy. So technology like Brad's referencing, both with his SMRT1 pods, but also with other forms of diversifying your commerce offering, the brands that do that are going to be positioned to come out of this and recover quicker. So that would be my advice, is to embrace it. And even if it's something you would, shaking your head at, 12 months ago, I would take another look at it and see how you could apply it to your business to reach your customers.
Baby steps, right? You
Absolutely.
Don't have to do it all overnight.
Absolutely.
So, to both of you, we'll start with Brad again. Where do you see the smart vending going the next 3 years? And, what's the plan for SMRT1 Technologies in terms of where it fits with business needs going forward?
It's going to be a driving demand for this self-service, automated retail type of world that we're facing. A lot of people will look at Japan and Asia in general as, the epitome of all vending machines. And it's true, they have about 200 people per machine in Asia, and the other way around, 20 people per machine in Asia and 200 in North America. And, that tells us there's a huge opportunity to grow here. But through my own experience of even the very first time of just trying to buy a touchscreen vending machine and integrate it is almost an impossible feat for the average retailer. This retailer is not going to be as savvy and still might have trouble with their Shopify setup and their Facebook page, never mind trying to add in a complex piece of hardware and then the technology that drives it. So we've really tried to look at it as a service, and I really believe that, software as a service and this hardware as a service, vending as a service, whatever it happens to be, the mix of, is going to be where a lot of the retail industry is headed. You don't have to look very far now to see the pickup lockers, in all of the major chains where you can order your groceries and have it already picked and ready for you to collect. But that the individual items and the on-demand items don't have that same level of uptick yet, but 100% they will.
Yeah. So you see the SMRT1 pod as serving the buy online, pick up in store with lockers rather than having to have staff there. I know you've talked with retailers about loss prevention, how those categories with high theft now, if they're vended, they can save that money for their P&L. Anything else where you see the solution fitting in?
The other part is they all have a marketing strategy, and they all have connections to the multiple ways that they connect to their customers. And we fold right into that. So it means that we can reuse their content from their social media to maybe drive an app or connect them in their advertising strategy in real time on their screens. Being able to, put time of day or location-based activities as being a way to reach your customers, because again, this is all Internet of Things, or the next technology shift. It's about adoption, and each of the things are individually adopted, but they comprise themselves as the whole sum of what we would consider automated retail or smart vending or smart retail. All of those kind of fold under the same umbrella, but it's not something you just put in one shot. It's multiple pieces working together, and I feel as a platform, that's where Smart One really excels.
Yeah. Yeah. And Drew, in terms of UpMeals, what's ahead for UpMeals the next 3 years in terms of where you see the business growing and developing?
I mean, we're on a very clear mission, which is to make healthy food accessible 24/7 through technology. And that is our core mission. Everything we do drives that mission. So we're going to continue here to build our own tools, our own platform, to make that as accessible, as intelligent, and as convenient as possible to all of our clients. And Brad's partnership and Brad's link up has been such a critical part in that. So, that lets us focus on what we truly want to do, which is focus on customized wellness solutions that fit the needs of each brand that we work with. And then we have a way to funnel that through the Smart One technology to present and expand the reach of their brand. And that's a very powerful thing. So we plan to expand, develop that, make that more intuitive, build more features, and really become the industry leader in branded wellness solutions through tech. And that's our plan. We see that growing exponentially in the next 3 years, and that's why Brad's partnership and Smart One's partnership has been so critical for us.
And so if people wanted to get in touch with you, Drew, you're on LinkedIn as UpMeals and as Drew Munro, Munro, no E. So they usually forget to add the E in my name. So it's
a weird spelling anyways. I answered to both. I'm okay with it. Yeah.
And your website, obviously, upmeals.ca, correct?
Upmeals.ca. If people want to connect with us and see more images of some of the solutions that we create for our clients, we're on Instagram as UpMeals, and you can find lots of our images and some of our daily updates there. And additionally, on our website, upmeals.ca, as you referenced, is the best place to find out more about us.
Perfect. And so, Brad, Smart One is in its seed round B raise. You've launched your campaign on Front Funder, which is FRONTFUNDR. Smart One Front Funder. They like to drop letters out of their words, and so frontfunder.com. And so you've launched your campaign there, which is crowd investing, which lets everyday Canadians for, I think your minimum investment's $500. Mm-hmm. So for as little as $500, people can own shares in Smart One Technologies and participate in this exciting new frontier. Can you tell us a little bit more about the campaign? How's it going? Where can people reach out for more information about Smart One?
So Smart One is about 3.5 years old, and it was grown all through friends and family. So as a private corporation, there wasn't a lot of ways we could get investment capital without otherwise involving accredited investors, which we just didn't have all the connections with. So we were able to build the proof of concept, and through all those stages, now we're at this nice growth stage where we're now turning revenues as well as still bringing in investment to scale our operations up. We have a team of 6. We've got several developers and sales and marketing and all the help that we need to be able to make these first early steps really successful. And now we're expecting over the next year to really turn over those revenues. And in fact, where the trajectory we're on, we've raised over 30% of our $1 million goal. And it's fantastic. The amount coming in is a great pace. We're getting a lot of traction across Canada itself. A lot of Ontario and Quebec, as well as BC, Alberta, and Saskatchewan are all seem to be very interested in this. but it's also that the crowdfunding opened up this new opportunity that, again, every day Canadians can invest in us through this new way of administering all of the technical paperwork involved. And Front Funder has helped guide us through that. And I'm expecting that, over the next several months, we're going to be learning a lot about who's investing in us, as well as who's getting exposed to our product through this, because we really want to be able to leverage our growth as a great story of how a private company grew and is a technology company in a rural setting. While we are, in Nelson, BC, and we're 7 hours from Vancouver and we're 7 hours from Calgary, it hasn't disconnected us from worldwide clients. And being able to start out in Vancouver with Drew is a dream come true, because now, again, I'm used to making those trips regularly. And now we're just putting machines on the ground in between those 2 points. And it's not going to be long before we're coast to coast servicing East and West Canada. But we get to do this in a way that is brand new. There's the average Canadian isn't an investor, so there's a lot of education that comes along. So our website, so smart1.ca, will be your best point of contact, and that'll lead you to the Front Funder campaign. You'll be able to find us on LinkedIn, which we're very active on, as well as Facebook. And through both of those, we're really trying to build the message of how our customers are using the machines, and that, we're not a vending machine company. We're a technology company with a focus on data. And this is what's going to empower Drew's company. And as well, it's going to give people a model that will let new companies spring forth in this. We just happen to be some of the first through the gate, but I am expecting crowdfunding is going to be a big one for a lot of small technology startups that now can't get out and pitch or see the investors or get around Canada to get their message out. They need a new channel, and it feels like that could be a really good outlet for a lot of Canadians.
Yeah, it's exciting because typically everyday Canadians couldn't participate in startup investing unless you had the wealth. And so these platforms are great because it gives people, it is a way of diversifying one's portfolio. You've got your big mutual funds, which are great and they have lots of history, but for relatively little money, you can participate in some rapid growth, which is what startups are supposed to do, right?
we do have one other benefit for BC as well, because we are a technology company focused on research and development. We've qualified for the EBC tax credit. So now an investor over $1,000 in British Columbia gets a 30% tax credit that, again, was never an opportunity before, but now is an incentive, and it's a driver for during these difficult times. The innovation is going to be fast and furious, and this gives us a really razor sharp edge to raise our money, provide immediate benefit back to our investors, and now grow this over the next 3 to 5 years into a much bigger entity.
Yeah, and as a proud Canadian, I really, really want to see us become less dependent on things like resources, and not to say that they still won't be a big piece of the puzzle, but these startups, that companies like you are both starting, just really makes me feel proud as a Canadian to be able to participate in that growth, because we need more Shopify's and success stories like that. We're all very proud of Shopify, obviously, and what they've accomplished. So just in terms of a couple questions we had, so we're nicely at about 1:45 here. We had a couple questions beforehand that we can maybe answer, and if anyone watching has any questions, you can put them in the chat. And if you're watching this recording after the fact, either of these gentlemen will be perfectly happy to answer any of your questions, I'm sure, if you reach out to them on LinkedIn or on their websites. So Brad, how fast, if I were to call you, if I were a retailer or someone in Drew's shoes and I wanted to launch a machine, I'm looking at the fall and I'm worried about a second wave of COVID, how fast can I be up and running?
You know, it really comes down to the existing vending industry and them keeping up with our demand. So typically it's going to be about 6 to 8 weeks to delivery, and that includes a good period of that in the marketing and graphic development. The hardware itself is standardized, and it's based on the product that the customer wants to put out, and it's very easy for us to fulfill that. It's then coming up with the marketing and the reason we're placing this. Again, being able to tailor the whole experience to the right retail experience, to the marketing and the strategy behind the scenes. You know, so really we're only a few weeks away from delivery to anywhere across Canada, and the same ability through our partnership through North America wide. So we feel that, you know, 6 to 8 weeks is very realistic. And again, that's what the industry has been pumping out in the past, and we're able to bootstrap right into that ability.
And is there a high level of customization that the operator can have, you know, in terms of the dashboards they see, the experience that their customer has?
Yeah, so very much it's going to be tuned to be your graphics. It's usually in alignment with your website and your media campaigns. The same materials are going to be used. And so when it comes down to now just product selection, we work with the vending machine industry, and they set the coils and they set the machine. Beyond that, now Smart One's helping the customer push the right buttons, and that's through our interface.
Speaking of pushing buttons, can it be voice activated so I don't even have to touch the machine? Is that an option?
Yeah, we're constantly working on new ways to communicate, and we now have the ability to do some basic voice navigation through. Again, it's about aiding and providing alternative means. So we're trying to do it that it's in combination, where you might touch, or you might talk, or you might wave your hand. All of those types of things are where we're taking this. And then the ability now to have a lot of that experience run through your personal device, again, makes it that you could be talking to your phone in the very near future through Siri to be able to order your sandwich for UpMeals.
Perfect. And Drew, you know, people are always interested in consumer shifts from a restaurant standpoint. I know it's pretty typical when there's scary economic times that comfort foods become more. Is it your sense in terms of shifts in food and consumer preferences? What are you seeing?
Well, we're seeing a few key shifts, not only in the types of foods that people were eating, but how they're eating them. The first is that, you know, a lot of people are prioritizing, like I mentioned, safety and how the food is presented or packaged, whether it's sealed or whether it's, you know, been in an environment that has had lots of hands on it. People are really thinking about the way that the food has been interacted with prior to them consuming it. Whereas before, you know, this wasn't necessarily at the forefront of everybody's minds when they were choosing what to eat. You're absolutely right that, you know, during tougher times that generally comfort foods have become more popular. I believe I saw an infographic that showed the most popular items ordered from, you know, major delivery apps by city, and comfort foods were all at the very top, you know, and things that people just felt good eating during this time. And what we've also noticed is that during this time, certain resources and commodities and ingredients have skyrocketed. Meat is one of those things, particularly with beef and pork, certain commodities. So now the surgence of plant-based proteins and alternative proteins, which were already, you know, booming before the pandemic hit, there's new companies providing new interesting services and new interesting options. So if you actually look, I think that in the top 3 in almost every major Canadian city is either a Beyond Meat burger or some sort of a plant-based protein item. So that's a huge shift that's sort of seeing a little skyrocket even as a result of the pandemic. And I expect that to continue and to see those consumer trends shift, both due to economic and due to sort of social scenarios and environments.
Yeah, for sure. The plant-based proteins, and from what I've seen in the research, very big with millennials. I know I interviewed the Virtuous Pie for an article I wrote, and they mentioned that I asked, is it a younger cohort? And they said, yes, but they're bringing their parents in. Yes. So it's lovely because there's still that family breaking bread together, sharing food together, introducing new traditions. So it's a huge opportunity. So the first machine, gentlemen, is going into the TELUS building. Do you have a date yet as to when?
We're targeting mid-September for that. We have a lot of the assets lined up. We have a beautiful customized food solution and lineup of products ready to go. So we're essentially working with Brad and his team now to make that a fully branded, customized TELUS experience, and that's a very exciting project. So we're shooting for mid-September for that install date, and they're extremely excited as well. It's a perfect solution that meets their needs and solves a big problem for them.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. So we will look forward to the wonderful videos that will no doubt be coming out when this thing is launched, and you can show us how it works. So that kind of brings us nicely to, a nice 50-minute webinar for people that are watching this on demand. So, is there anything I haven't covered that either of you want to say, or have we pretty much solved all the world's problems that we can in 50 minutes? So
I think for me, that was a really productive 50 minutes. I want to thank you for putting this together. Great questions. Thank you for hosting, and thank you for again having me on. I'm satisfied with what we've covered here. I think it's a good start. Yeah.
Good. How about you, Mr. Pommen?
I've loved working with Drew from the get-go. His passion for his business is why I want to make my product better. And anything that I can do that enables him to do that means ultimately I'm going to make more sales. I'm going to have broader opportunities in the future. But as well, we built a homegrown solution. And I, honestly believe Canada is one of the lucky ones as far as other countries and what's happening right now. So if we are one of the lucky ones that has a faster recovery, this is going to be a piece that also helps us with the recovery. It aids that ability for many different verticals, and any way that they have that health and wellness and an interest to collect data and demographics and help make science-based decisions or evidence-based decisions, I think is really valuable here. So I look forward to empowering Drew to be able to serve his customers, and in turn, we're going to be able to grow the SMRT1 brand into an entity to be reckoned with. We are small and we are mighty.
Yes. So we do have a question from someone. They're asking, when is this launching on Front Funder? So the SMRT1 campaign is on Front Funder right now, and there's about how long does it run for?
Yeah, there is about 10 days in the current campaign, and that we're expecting that this is a successful model that we're going to continue on. So those that haven't been able to commit in that time, we're expecting there is going to be a few more opportunities as we grow, and we're going to continue to highlight those through all of our social media channels.
Okay. Perfect. So I hope that answers the question. The Front Funder campaign did launch in July, so it is still there, and we'll continue to do updates as we move forward with UpMeals, so you can keep tabs on what's going on there. So thank you to everyone who's here attending live, and thank you to both of you. All the best. I have no doubt it's going to rock. The right solution at the right time, and it was already well underway when all of this happened. So we will wrap up the webinar for today there, and this will be available for people to view on demand. So thank you to you both, and best of luck with the rollout.
Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you, Michelle. Yep.
Okay. Thanks.